Good morning, everybody. This is a live extreme weather briefing with a monster nor'easter taking shape for portions of the northeastern U.S., a large part of New England, including down to the coastline in the Boston area. Look like they're going to get hammered by some heavy snow. Looks like that rain is going to change to snow by midday into the probably more likely the early afternoon hours right along the coast of Boston. And here you can see that surface low really starting to bomb out. That minimum pressure is dropping to the mid 990s right now. And likely ongoing water spouts happening here within that intense warm conveyor belt, contributing to some latent heat release within that warm conveyor belt wrapping around the east side of this system. Positive feedbacks are well underway as we've had a phasing of the northern and southern branches of the jet stream. And this is the parent surface low just off the coast of Delmarva here. Right now it's moving off to the east, even a little bit south of east, and eventually it's going to loop off to the north and eventually approach New England later on today. But this is a rapidly evolving situation, and you can certainly see these supercell storms evolving in the warm sector here. Big time low-level jet to the east of this surface low. Wouldn't be surprised if there are a few water spouts here over the open ocean, open waters of the Gulf Stream, very warm waters out there. And these mesocyclones here are contributing to big time latent heat release within this warm conveyor belt, transporting moisture, heat, energy to the east side of this monster surface low, and this is expected to bomb out. The bottom's going to drop out of this. It's going to drop into the 970s, the upper 970s as it passes to the east of New England. I'm going to show you some model imagery of this thing. Just kind of a quick synopsis of this storm. We're also going to look at some snow maps as well. And Facebook supporters, I'm going to be launching the Storm Chasing School here shortly. I know I was supposed to do that during November. I've been working on the rocket launch paper, but I do plan to launch these weekly modules, Storm Chase EDU. Still trying to figure out the name of it here, but I'm going to be launching that this month. Every week we're going to do educational material on basic meteorology, storm chasing as well, even editing video, licensing video, technology, doing science, all kinds of things. And it's going to run during the off season all winter into the spring months, and I'm going to try to continue that too in between storm systems, even during peak storm chasing. But we're definitely a quickly evolving nor'easter type situation. You can definitely obviously see the surface low there. Big dry air wrapping around the southern side of this, curving into this mid-latitude cyclone here. And then you can see the warm conveyor belt off to the east of those individual supercell storms. We can look at infrared and definitely show those colder cloud tops of those supercell storms. Look at them out there in that warm conveyor belt, dry air getting entrained in between these mesocyclones, rear flank downdrafts cutting into these. But each of these are supercell storms to the east of that surface low, more veered out shear. Further south down here, more uniform general convection. But up here, these are supercell storms over the open water, well off the coastline of New Jersey. These are never going to touch land. Maybe in Cape Cod, if that warm nose can nose into New England, we might get a couple transient supercell structures. But for the most part, this is going to be a tornado event that is located well offshore of the Gulf Stream waters there. Zooming out, you can see those winter weather alerts, winter storm warnings, northeastern Connecticut, much of Massachusetts, central Massachusetts, even all the way down to Boston, the entire state of New Hampshire, much of Maine, aside from down east Maine is under those winter storm warnings. Here is this winter storm warning predicting 6 to 12 inches of snow, winds gusting over 45 miles an hour. And this winter storm warning is in effect until 7 a.m. tomorrow. Numerous power outages as well expected with this storm system. And this is the phasing of the northern and southern branch. We saw that happen with the last system as well, but the northern branch really dominated. In this case, you had a southern stream system. Subtropical jet is incredibly active despite La Nina conditions in the Pacific. We're having more of an El Nino pattern here for the last week or two. Probably going to shift back to more of a traditional La Nina toward the middle of December. But this is an active, energized subtropical jet. Another system back to the west here. Winter weather advisories for West Texas, Davis Mountains, up to 4 inches happening down there. That's the next system that we're going to have to be watching downstream that could cause some problems. But there is a system coming in from the Great Lakes at phase with this southern stream system, and this is the result. This massive mid-latitude cyclone blowing up off of Delmarva Peninsula down to about 995 millibars now, but it's going to continue to ramp up. And look at this warm conveyor belt just hammering southern New England, and that's why we've got mostly rain so far out there. I'm breaking it down here with the Radar Omega app, looking at some of this meteorological eye candy on here. Now let's look a little closer to the radar, and here you can see this extensive band of precipitation. Most of this is rain, heavy rain and wind starting to ramp up out here. There is some snow over the higher terrain here of Massachusetts and especially into New Hampshire. The northwestern side of this could be starting to change over to snow. I'll show you the different color table that will show you where some of that snow is located. But the temperatures are in the 40s out here, and really coastal New England down here near Boston, expecting a changeover during afternoon, and then a period of snow, 1 to 2 inches per hour, likely thunder snow within the band that's going to set up this afternoon as well from northern Rhode Island through eastern Massachusetts. It's going to lift into New Hampshire as well here. But look at all this precipitation coming in, and I'm going to show you right now that most of this is rain, but the changeover is going to happen quite rapidly. Temperatures actually with this warm nose over eastern Massachusetts are lifting into the 50s over Cape Cod out there. And you can see heavy rain, winds shifting to northerly here. And once this surface low moves just a little bit east, then we're going to pull in all of this cold air that's located over interior parts of the Northeast. This is a very rapidly evolving system. So first you get this warm nose, the warm conveyor belt pumping the moisture northward out ahead of the system, and then as this surface low moves just a little bit east, then these northerlies pull in this cold air, and then it quickly changes over the rain to snow, and that's going to happen rapidly by late morning through midday, late morning over the higher terrain in interior New England. Already temperatures falling into the mid-30s there in interior Massachusetts with snowfall per that latest update. Definitely some extreme conditions also expected. Mount Washington up there in New Hampshire is going to get hammered. I'd love to be up there in the observatory. So now let's check out the RAP analysis and kind of monitor this deepening low off the coast of the Northeast. That's Gizmo begging my mom for her sausage this morning, breakfast sausage. It's one of Gizmo's favorites. So here you can see the RAP analysis showing the deepening of this surface low into the mid 990s, and I'm going to show you the bombing out process happening here. There you can see that surface low. This is the recent one, and in 2 hours you've got a surface pressure, a minimum pressure near 992, located just to the south of Long Island. You can see that the RAP is also resolving those supercell storms located in the warm sector just to the east and the southeast of that surface low. But watch this thing bomb out, sub 990 within 4 hours, and then within 6 hours into the 980s as the surface low is passing very near the island of Martha's Vineyard there, just to the south of Cape Cod. And you can see that the RAP analysis is definitely showing a string of supercell storms closing very close to far southeastern coastal Massachusetts. Martha's Vineyard there into Cape Cod could certainly see the northern edge of that string of supercells. You could definitely get some strung out supercells maybe moving over Martha's Vineyard, leading to some enhanced wind gusts as this surface low passes just to the south or very near that location. But by this time, Massachusetts is getting hammered, southeastern New Hampshire, big time band starting to come ashore here. Also over much of the eastern half of Maine, and you're going to have 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates in here, rapidly changing over to snow. The higher terrain here of northeastern Connecticut as well, 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates. Even northwestern Rhode Island's going to get in on the action, especially once the surface low passes just to the southeast and all that cold air is pulled southward. Winds are going to be gusting over 45 miles an hour here as well, and that surface low is going to continue to bomb out in the Gulf of Maine there. I think the worst conditions are likely going to be northeastern Massachusetts into southern New Hampshire, southeastern Maine with this system in terms of the wind and the snowfall. But let's look at what the conditions are like right now with this supercell outbreak that's happening here of supercells over the Gulf Stream. Here you can see this nose of Cape, surface-based instability surging to the north, to the east side of that surface low. There's a big low-level jet out there, and then eventually that instability axis gets pinched as this upper level system becomes more mature. The dry air basically pitches off that instability axis there off further south in the Gulf Stream. But the next 2 hours, there's likely going to be water spouts happening there over the open waters. You could definitely see that big time warm conveyor belt, basically a low level jet to the east of this system. The massive latent heat release in this conveyor belt is certainly aided by those supercells, those mesocyclones out there. Let's take a look at the effective helicities. And even over the water, where you don't have the benefit of surface friction, you're still getting 200 to 300 effective storm relative helicities down there just to the east of that surface low. Certainly some water spouts ripping northward. And if you had the aid of surface friction and could weaken or back some of those surface winds, you would certainly see the that storm relative helicity ramp up. There you can see that 60 to 70 knot low-level jet and that warm conveyor belt just to the east of this system. That's the 850 low right there over top. And you can see that warm nose, even 6 hours out, is still bleeding into southeastern Massachusetts, including Boston. So I think Boston's going to stay rain well into the early afternoon hours, and then a rapid change over to snow just as that surface low passes over Cape Cod, brings in that cold air all the way to the coastline. But really, you can see the warm nose increasing those temperatures aloft, keeping that precipitation likely a cold rain or liquid. Just not enough cold air this early in the season to get that frozen precipitation, that sleet, just not enough of a shallow cold layer at the surface. But just inland from Boston, over the higher terrain here of eastern Massachusetts into southeastern New Hampshire, certainly it's going to remain all snow, especially in the higher terrain. This warm nose is really going to impact eastern Massachusetts. It could come ashore a little bit over southeastern Maine. Definitely going to come ashore over down east Maine, where there's not even any alerts, winter weather alerts over there. Just some wind and rain from this classic nor'easter. And just for fun, there's the EHIs, single-digit EHIs there, pretty low end. And a lot of that is because of the reduced friction over the ocean here, and that reduces the speed shear and the directional shear, even east of a very dynamic surface low like that. Nevertheless, though, we've got supercell storms in that warm conveyor belt. Here's the coastal front as well. We can see where that's going to... So Cape Cod's going to get into the southeasterlies as that warm nose barely comes ashore over Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard. Cold rain in Boston, but then once those winds go just a little bit westerly, that should bring that snow all the way down to the coastline. Here you can see the NAM model. The NAM's been a little bit all over the place, and even last night's NAM had 1.5 feet of snow over some of these areas. The National Weather Service is going with general 6 to 12, higher amounts, of course, in the higher terrain. But here is the HRRR, which goes out to 48 hours now, this new HRRR. I've also heard that, which is a benefit for severe weather season, is that some of those over-mixing issues, especially in the high plains with the HRRR, may be resolved in this new iteration. So this is at 0Z tonight. HRRR, latest HRRR is showing that surface low to bomb out through the 980s, getting close to 980 out there, dropping into the 970s, upper 970s, 977 there in the Gulf of Maine, just to the west of Nova Scotia there. Let's get a little bit closer for the snow maps. Look at that monster system there. And you can see down East Maine with that warm nose. So here is the current HRRR showing that surface low. This is actually at 13Z. Pretty recently, about a half hour ago here. HRRR is definitely showing the supercell storms here in the conveyor belt. And as we go through the morning, watch this low deepen. Can also look at the snow happening here in northwestern Connecticut, higher terrain of even southern New York. Definitely the biggest totals here are going to be in eastern Massachusetts into southern New Hampshire. We'll look at some of these snow maps. But the warm nose, keeping it all rain through most of the morning. Start to get a change over there, northwestern Rhode Island into northeastern Connecticut. But you can see these supercell storms getting dangerously close to Martha's Vineyard here. This is the northern side, but eventually that instability is going to get pinched off to the south as the system becomes more vertically stacked, more mature, more occluded, almost like an occluding tornado, whereas a new surface low or new tornado would form off to the east at the nose of that instability. But here by 20Z, we start to change over to frozen precipitation in Boston. That warm nose begins to get eroded as the winds shift to more northerly, with that surface low passing just to the east of Cape Cod. And then it's going to change it over to a period of very heavy snow in Boston, and it's going to happen fast by about 2 to 3 p.m. along the coastline. And then you're going to have a period of very heavy snow on the backside of this low in the deformation zone here. Deep cold air coming in from the north, getting pulled down from eastern Canada through interior New England. All snow all the way down to Portland there as well by this time. And it looks like Portland's going to change over to snow with some aid of some dynamical cooling by late morning, maybe midday all the way down to the coast. So it looks like midday, 1 p.m. Thunder snow happening down here, southeastern Maine, coastal New Hampshire, even northeastern Massachusetts. Gonna get some thunder snow. You can see these convective bands coming in. Big time convective band of snow pivoting inland here in New England as the surface low bombs out into lower 980s there, just off Cape Cod. And this little shimmy off to the east is definitely going to help to bring that snow even further closer to the coast and into even southeastern Massachusetts as it begins to eject off to the northeast. Period of thunder snow happening here, middle to late afternoon. Southeastern New Hampshire, Maine as well. Let's look at a forecast sounding here from down east Maine. It really show that warm nose happening, saturated all the way up. Here's the warm conveyor belt. Up over top, a little shallow layer of cooler temperatures into the mid-30s here. All rain event. But look at this warm nose, saturated all the way up. Big time lift too. Lower levels from warm advection all the way up to the middle levels of the atmosphere too. But textbook saturated profile. Big time warm advection. Release of latent heat out there as well. So definitely a beautiful storm system that is taking shape for interior New England. And I want to show you some of these snow maps. There was quite a bit of uncertainty with the snowfall accumulations leading up to this event because of differences in the timing between the northern and southern stream systems. These nor'easters can always have surprises in store, even on their final approach to the coastline. Not much in the way of lake effect behind this system. But the HRRR really blowing up snowfall totals. Well in excess of a foot just inland from the coast, approaching 1.5 feet even here. Areas like Worcester, up through southeastern New Hampshire, southeastern Maine, Portland getting absolutely plastered by this system. And then nothing over down east Maine where that warm nose keeps all the precipitation, that cold rain. But even up to a foot in northwestern Rhode Island, according to this new HRRR here. This is the 12Z run. You can see these streamers and lake effect and the cold advection back behind it. Even northwestern Connecticut, western Massachusetts gets several inches of snow, but this is that convective band that's going to set up here. Northwestern Rhode Island, eastern Massachusetts, southeastern New Hampshire, into southeastern Maine. And also check and see what the NAM is showing here. And whenever you show snow maps, it seems like in the weather community you have to almost make fun of it. But I mean, these are consistently well above what many of the forecasts are showing. The NAM model, the GFS, the European. Here's the GFS. It's probably the 6C GFS. But still showing well in excess of a foot. Northeastern Massachusetts just in from Boston. The GFS has at least a 6Z GFS, had a more stout, warm nose. But it seems like the 12Z models that are coming in are bringing those higher totals all the way down to the coastline as this bombing out system passes just to the east of Cape Cod. Northerly winds bring that deeper cold air down to the coastline. Rapid changeover to rain, from rain to thunder snow, 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates. with a maximum in snowfall here. Southeastern New Hampshire, southwestern Maine. Snow lovers, you guys deserve it out there in New England. I know it's been a very long year so far for those weather lovers up there. And general agreement amongst all the models here. These snow maps. This is last night's European, which has done incredibly well. So I think there's going to be well in excess of a foot here in this swath from northeastern Mass, southeastern New Hampshire, into southwestern Maine, and eventually the mountains too of interior Maine are going to get hammered as well from this. This is showing the phasing of the two systems here. This is on the European model. And different than the last system, you've got a much more stout system in the southern stream. Retains its identity through the entire time, becomes the eventual surface low off the coast. Vorticity advection from this northern stream shortwave coming in as well helps to ramp up this system. And then it encounters the temperature gradient on the west side of the Gulf Stream, helping to further increase that bombing out process and the positive feedbacks that happen. And then as this surface low deepens, that helps to build a ridge off to the east. Cold advection back behind that system helps to steepen the trough on the backside as well. The trough gains a more neutral tilt. Eventually, and just perfect phasing here of the northern and southern stream systems. There's a big time subtropical jet connection with this as well. The subtropical jet's a little bit higher up. You can see that energized subtropical jet that contributed to this system, and the last big storm system that dumped snowfall well in excess of a foot, even approaching 2 feet there in northeastern Ohio with that lake enhanced event that happened recently. In this case, a little bit later phasing between the northern and the southern stream systems resulted in more of a nor'easter pattern instead of the surface low heading up the spine of the Appalachians. This one really is ramping up now just off Delmarva. Later phasing, but that also led to the uncertainty in the snowfall totals leading up to this event. Let's go back to satellite imagery. I'll go back to radar and then satellite. Here you can see that big time band, kind of showing you where the heaviest snow eventually is going to set up here. Northeastern Massachusetts, Manchester, Dover, Concord are going to get hammered. Portland's going to get hammered by this thing. National Weather Service says 6 to 12 inches of snow. But most of the models are showing higher snowfall totals with this. The National Weather Service must be thinking that this is going to be rain for just a little bit longer. Maybe the warm nose is being a bit underestimated with this system. Winter weather advisories all the way as well in northwestern Connecticut there. 3 to 6 inches of snow expected. Power outages are going to be widespread with this very wet snow, coupled with those strong winds gusting over 30, 40, 45 miles an hour, especially closer to the coastline out here in northeastern Massachusetts, eastern New Hampshire. And again, that changeover is likely to happen in the Portland area. Late morning, closer to midday. I love chasing nor'easters. I certainly wanted to head up there and intercept this, but I'm working hard on that storm chasing school content. Maybe a little sting jet happening here. Some big time winds as that dry air wraps around the south side of that low pressure system. You can see some of these agitated tops here. Mesocyclone supercell storms happening. Dry punch whipping around. Big time winds out in this area too. Big westerly winds surging with this system. See that dry air wrap all the way in. Just a classic mid-latitude cyclone thriving off the temperature gradients here in the western Gulf Stream. And eventually, this is going to pivot off to the north, passing very close to Martha's Vineyard, eastern Cape Cod there. Look at that front surge out ahead of that dry air. cold air coming in with these cumulus clouds, cellular cumulus clouds, cold air over the warmer waters, ocean waters. Big warm conveyor belt to the east of this, leading to height rises out ahead of the system. But all these positive feedbacks with these nor'easters are incredible to witness in real time. See some gravity waves here with that wind normal to the spine of the Appalachians. Big time gravity waves happening back there. Those strong westerlies happening here. Probably some beautiful wave clouds happening along into the east of the Appalachians there. But the pink, those are the winter storm warnings. Flood alerts from Environment Canada, rainfall warnings there. Western Nova Scotia. Rainfall up to 45 millimeters out there. New Brunswick getting a lot of rain from this on the warm side of this system. And I'm standing here working on the rocket paper, getting ready for the storm chasing EDU content coming up here this winter. Every single week we're going to be going over meteorological, educational material, as well as how to storm chase, how to forecast severe weather, storm structure, doing science, how to make a living storm chasing. We'll cover it all. But right now we are watching this nor'easter. Let me pull up a updated surface map here as well. See what's new right now. Definitely changing over to snow. It is snow over large portions of interior Massachusetts and those higher elevations. Also some snow in southern New Hampshire. But even southwestern Maine, even inland from Portland, temperatures are still falling through the upper 30s, through the mid 30s. As that rain ramps up and the heavier precipitation moves in, you're going to get what's called dynamical cooling, bringing down some of those colder temperatures just above the ground, dynamically forcing it down to the surface. That's also a mechanism for getting those temperatures down to freezing and changing over to snow. Very possible to change over to snow here across northwestern Connecticut, western Mass, as well as a deeper colder air is bleeding in from the north out of Canada. Winds already gusting up to 25 out there on Cape Cod. Those are going to continue to ramp up. Temperatures rising, 53 over 51 out there, Martha's Vineyard. Could even get into some supercell storms here on the northern nose of that instability axis, but the RAP model and the HRRR really keep that instability axis pinched off over the Gulf Stream. But really, as we go through the afternoon today, temperature conditions are really going to deteriorate in that band from northeastern Connecticut through eastern Massachusetts, southeastern New Hampshire, and into southwestern Maine. That's the area that we're going to be watching. I do wish I was chasing this system, but I'm going to be waiting for probably a higher end nor'easter. And I'm just going to watch this unfold on satellite imagery. Stick to these live briefings as well. This first major nor'easter of the season. Could also look at a water vapor loop. Really show that dry slot punching into this. Invigorated by the phasing with the short wave in the northern branch of the jet. But look at this dry slot, resulting in almost a sting jet type of a feature already. And on the leading edge of this dry punch, that's where you're getting some of these supercell storms. A couple of these little supercell storms enhancing that warm conveyor belt, the latent heat release in that warm conveyor belt. But look at that dry punch surging across the Gulf Stream there. Winter alerts on the cold side, rainfall alerts, portions of western Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. But we're going to continue to monitor these conditions. Most of the models show snowfall totals in this band approaching 1.5 feet, even from northeastern Connecticut, northwestern Rhode Island, higher at the hills of northwestern Rhode Island there, southeastern New Hampshire into southeastern Maine. Thinking about probably 11 to 15 inches up in that area. just based on agreement from the short fuse models that are coming in so far this morning. But a beautiful nor'easter taking shape. We've got other systems down the line in the long range that could be interesting. Could even be the threat of some severe weather way out there into December. But today the story is the nor'easter in the Northeast and the changeover from rain to dangerous snowfall, 1 to 2 inches per hour, thunder snow happening. Stay tuned to my weather reports. I hope you guys enjoy them. I'm going to continue updating on this nor'easter as I'm working hard on the rocket paper. Show you a quick little preview of it to close here. Got to get this thing finished once and for all. It takes me a long time to finish these things these days. Writing is not my specialty. I still got to change the title slide. I use my old University of Oklahoma address here. Here's the background. Some figures, rocket figures. Dominator storm chasing vehicles are discussed. Some visualizations pointing out the different features of the Dominator storm chasing vehicle here. Then we discussed the May 28, 2019 tornado event, the Linwood tornado, violent tornado damage path there. Literature review that I still have to finish. Some methodology, breaking down all the sensors that we use for those tornado probes. And all this science is really made possible by the Facebook supporter community. I've linked our community in the text here. But without the Facebook supporter group, none of this science would have been possible. Here's the live streaming tornado probes designed by Mark. Chase and Spin on Twitter. It's just incredible at designing these. These are the receivers that receive the live streamed data coming in as the parachute probe is flying around inside the tornado. Delivery mechanism are these rockets. Curtis Brooks built these. They have holes in there also to facilitate accurate temperature measurements. We've got the rocket launcher with pan and tilt capability on the roof of the Dominator 3. This is some radar imagery from Radar Omega as well, showing the location of the rocket launch relative to this HP supercell structure with a very large wet RFD here. Here are some frame captures of Mark receiving the live data with his handheld receiver and the launch itself from May 28, 2019. Here's a picture where we utilize social media to recover the probe, the parachute probe there. This is Matthew Du Bois, Jeremy Belk, a couple of friends of mine now. They're based in the Leavenworth area, and they just happened to find the sensor just sitting in the front yard of this church. But that's how we were able to get the really high resolution data, not just the live stream data. Here you can see some of the speeds and the GPS positioning data based on the 5 hertz GPS data. You can see that it did a couple of revolutions around the tornado before getting picked up by this tilted vacuum cleaner of a mesocyclone. And many people think that the mesocyclone exists as a compact vortex, almost similar to a large tornado high up in the atmosphere. But I think those lower pressures, and for other reasons, the mesocyclone is more of a tilted vacuum cleaner that spreads out with height, basically stretching and intensifying the low-level vortex underneath it, or helping in the development of those tornadoes. Really, any eddy beneath the base of that tilted vacuum cleaner is a candidate at getting stretched into the vertical and intensifying into a tornado. And the maximum velocities near 90 meters per second as this revolved around the lower levels of that tornado, consistent with its EF3 strength at that time before it intensified into an EF4 on approach to Linwood. Here is the path of that the vortex of the probe as it was circulating around inside the vortex. You can see it did 2 revolutions and then began that tilted vacuum cleaner ascent all the way up to the very high levels of the troposphere, experienced some gravity wave oscillations as the tornado was doing EF4 damage down in Linwood below. But that's what I'm working on. Trying to finish this paper. It's definitely a long process, and I'm not the best at technical writing. It just takes me a long time. But back to this nor'easter. We're going to be watching this play out in real time as I'm writing this paper today. I'll go live as the conditions, as that rainfall transitions into very heavy snow with thunder snow, 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates expected in that band. But a great job by the Weather Service navigating this complex phasing between the northern and southern stream systems. And really the models are coming into incredible agreement this morning with well in excess of a foot of snow across interior New England, but changing over to dangerous winter conditions all the way down to the coast. Boston, Portland. The heaviest band should be just inland across northeastern Mass down to northwestern Rhode Island, southeastern New Hampshire into southern Maine. So thank you everybody for tuning in this Saturday morning. Hope you guys have an incredible weekend watching as this nor'easter takes shape. Please consider joining Storm Chase EDU. That's going to be offered to Facebook supporters. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my weather reports. And I hope you have a great Saturday watching this incredible nor'easter bombing out off the coast of the northeastern U.S. Never stop chasing.